All right, everyone. So, last time you picked up a few jobs at the inn and brought them back to the captain. One job was to seek out a fiendish individual who had caused some grief to someone. And you had another option to seek out a lady, Munda, who a wealthy elf asked you to save from a group of cultists. And so the captain asked which one you felt was the more worthwhile and pressing one to do, and that is now where you shall head out to. Is there any last minute business you want to do before you leave? Anchor from port.
Nope. Nada.
Nah.
I do want to make sure that our ship is stocked with food and water for such a trip that we estimate to be at least a couple months worth of food,
Okay,
obviously.
that makes sense. So, Cookie,
Yes.
which manner do you choose to go about doing so? Do you just head down?
Be right back. Okay.
Nate, you cut off.
Sorry, headset cut out there. What'd you say?
So you were talking, and you said, which manner do I want to do this?
Yes.
I would want to find a some kind of a marketplace that, obviously they would provision ships for journeys as a regular sort of thing here.
Right.
So I should be able to find some place to stock up in a variety of quality but not that expensive foods, staples, vegetables, anything that'll preserve. Do we have refrigeration? Probably.
Not exactly. If you remember, ships tend to not have that sort of thing often. You could potentially have magical storage that might, but that would be about the only means.
Okay. So we can travel through space, but we can't refrigerate food. Okay.
Talk to the wizards, man. It's their priorities.
I'll keep that in mind. Um, well, I think we can really keep live animals with us that well. Um,
You can
but
eat
there
my
should be
cat.
some variety of preserved meats, like salted pork and the like, along with a large quantity of grains that we could get. Some foods like that, and other things that are canned, probably.
Please eat my cat.
Wow. I don't want to eat a cat that does 5 points of damage. No.
Limp.
Um,
Like a quarter of my hit points.
so I'd like to acquire, if we estimate a month's journey out, probably about 3 months worth of food and water. And I would like to cook, so the basics of that we can acquire. I don't know what that would end up being.
Okay.
Silly question, Cookie.
Yeah.
How well are you? How good are you at cooking without fire?
We can cook with fire on the ship. What's wrong with you? The phlogiston is out there. It's not on the ship itself.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Absolutely sure.
Yeah.
Are we having this conversation in character?
Yeah.
He's definitely certain.
I'm definitely certain. Yes, I am.
There's a reason the narrator hadn't stepped in, because two characters often have dialogue between each other.
I don't have any fire on hand myself, but I imagine that
Because to
there's
be
a
honest, I didn't
kitchen.
think Cleoc would think that that the ship is fully stocked and would not have gone down with Cookie. So I will quit talking.
He may have been talking up on deck before Cookie headed off. Cookie's been basically stating his plan.
Okay, in that case,
Um,
have you seen a single fire on this ship? Hey,
I need to
what,
know.
what have they lit?
What does the kitchen look like?
well, you hadn't really spent much time in the kitchen. You guys have bypassed it.
Okay, I want to see the kitchen because I want to cook stuff there.
Okay. The rest of you gonna...
Follow him in.
Okay.
It wouldn't hurt to take a look around the ship just to get my bearings anyway. After all, this is apparently going to be my home for a while.
Okay. So, Cookie, you head down and the captain hollers over to you. Emrakul's like, Cookie, my first mate here, Gare, says that you requested to be a chef.
Yes.
Well, seeing as the last one has departed, we definitely have an opening in that department.
Good.
Definitely make a good one.
Where's the kitchen?
He makes a mean gnat stew.
Wow.
Funny you should say that.
Okay, that's not good.
I have, the last 2 days at work, I've killed 47 gnats. Sorry.
That's
Yeah.
counting.
And that's
Okay.
canon now.
Yep.
Okay, so I look at the kitchen.
Hold on.
Okay.
You should see the table loading for you, and then you can literally look at the kitchen.
I see cannons, armory, mess hall, kitchen.
I see a kitchen that's still trying to load textures.
Very well, maybe. But this is your ship.
Is that as big as the pantry is? Oh man.
We're gonna need that much.
One more.
Keep in mind, you can stack,
That's enough.
a number of boxes high.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you zoom in,
Yeah.
one of those chairs is going to be kind of like your, almost 5 foot. Or, yeah. It's going to be, a good 3 foot wide for one of those chairs, so someone can actually sit there posterior on it.
Well, I see that there are various pots and pans there, but I can't determine what the cooking process is. I don't really see a fire or an oven, though.
Interesting, they didn't put one in there. There is one. It would be on the side there.
There's at least some form of oven, if not an open flame.
Yes. If you zoom back out,
Mm-hmm.
you can actually go down and you'll see there's actually a forge in the workshop. Or in the smithy.
Ah.
And then, of course, they do have a workshop as well to do some other
See that.
crafting.
Yeah, there is fire on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Hammer.
So yeah, it's a fairly well supplied
Okay.
ship. And if you guys had to, you could always use the cargo hold for some dried goods too. So it's not like, you're limited to only the immediate pantry.
Right. I don't have the proper books on hand to estimate the source materials. But how many crew do we have on this ship?
Let me look. It's been a while since I've done that.
First on the list is beans.
And we decided last session we'd at least learned enough about the phlogiston to know that fire is bad, right?
Yes.
That would be one of the first things you're taught.
So fire is bad. Okay. Okay, fine.
You have a minimum of 20 crew, a maximum of 40.
How many do we have right now?
Probably, we'll say 30.
Let's see. 270 days worth of food. Yeah, that's entirely manageable. It would take, that's like 500 to 1,000 pounds of food. We could do that.
We'll have the size listed here, and I thought I had the weight capacity, but I don't see the weight capacity on here. But that's alright.
I think if
But
you
hey.
force underneath there for their reason alone.
Alright, so this is your ship that you guys are going to be traveling on. The captain's quarters not exactly like that, but I haven't had time to make edits, so that's why we're just going with this for now. There's a small cabin next to the captain's quarters that has the first mate's quarters.
Okay.
Kind of as a, bodyguard. And then, of course, there is a doctor on the ship, so that's good. And the wizard quarters are always locked for some reason.
Wizard quarters?
You've never seen anyone come out of there. There's a... For you to understand, I was telling you what it's called on the map, but for you, there's an armory that you're shown.
Okay.
But you've never seen anyone come in or out of the door next to the armory.
Okay. Can I ask? Would the captain tell me if there's someone there or what's in the room?
The door is always barred shut. You've
Inside
never...
or outside?
Well, I guess you wouldn't know unless you tried the door, but you've never seen anyone get near the door, go in the door, out of the door. Asking him what?
Is there other wizards on board? But what's in this quarters?
You wouldn't necessarily know it's a wizard's quarters.
Do
Right.
we understand what powers our ship? Have we asked that question?
No, you don't, because there are no sails.
Yeah, one of the things that we do after having asked about the phlogiston is we ask about, what about
There you go.
fuel?
Update.
How do we travel through space? How does the ship
Fuel? What is fuel?
Well, conservation of energy says that we gotta somehow...
What is
space
conservation of
energy
energy?
somewhere. What, y'all don't know physics? Oh, physics.
What is physics?
Yeah, physics might... We shoot frickin' guns. I guess we don't need physics.
Thank you, Cleoc.
Magic. Oh, gosh.
A wizard did it.
Yes. A wizard did it.
Cookie, I have no idea what you're talking about. Speak in plain common. Or Aarakocra. Or Arin. Or Elvish, if you wish.
You know, actually, I don't think I would care. As long as the ship moves.
So player cares.
Yeah. but I
Character,
don't
not so
think
much.
Cookie would actually care how the ship moves through space. I'm not a inquisitor.
Scientist?
Yeah, I'm not a scientist. Cook.
Cleoc is somewhat in awe about the area he's in. So he is trying to learn it as he can, but is not going to ask too many. It hasn't really dawned on him that some of the things that don't particularly make sense on the prime material worlds that he was coming from.
That works.
He may ask the question later, but it hasn't quite dawned on him yet.
It's fine. It's merely for now where we're at. So, Cookie, you're able to acquire assistance if you like from others of the crew or your party members are great options to cook. Otherwise, the kitchen is left to you, so you have your own little paradise area and plenty of mouths to feed.
So every time he serves a meal, we roll a D100 to see what percentage of the crew is satisfied.
Something like that. Luckily, he actually has a feat to address that issue. He would get advantage on that sort of a thing. So if he wants, we can go that route, or he can just say he can whip up a meal that's they're happy with each time. If he wants to make a special meal, it actually can give special aspects to those who partake of it. If you wish, you can ask him about his cooking skills.
He doesn't care. Yet.
He's a bard. He adds flavoring. We don't know what it is.
The secret bard flavors.
All right.
I'd
Well,
like to think the Cleoc hasn't really partaken in very many delicacies or super tasty meals. Just, standard rations or...
You notice that if you the evening meal is particularly satisfying. You could, of course, skip the evening meal and you will skip the super effect of it. But the evening meal is particularly satisfying.
Cleoc still likes to eat.
I sprinkle gunpowder on my food.
sprinkle what?
Gunpowder.
Okay.
Weird boy.
Seasoning.
Okay.
John, you see the dwarf pull a little bag of black. Actually, you can roll a perception check. Let's see if you notice while you're running back and forth.
Where are dice?
I don't see them anywhere.
Oh, here.
Next to the mast.
How much of this space underneath it can we fill?
What's your modifier?
Just 1 second. Perception.
Yep.
I'm trained, so that's still only 3 to it.
Still, that's 12. Yonavan, are you trying to hide it, or are you just doing it?
I mean, he can ask me if he wants to know what it is, but if he doesn't...
If you're just doing it and not trying to hide it, then yeah, that's enough. He would see it.
But does he know what it is? That should be an intelligence check, not...
That was to see if he saw it running back and forth. So,
Okay, so yeah, he saw it.
Cookie, you see Yonavan pull out a little bag.
And like take a little pinch, and like sprinkle it over my food and put it back down.
You see him sprinkle this black powder over his food.
What is that? Yeah. My knowledge of of cooking says, "That does not belong. I smell sulfur. Sulfur does not belong in very many dishes, sir. Although eggs have it quite frequently."
I like take a bite and seem to be thoroughly enjoying it, and I look at him with a strange look.
All right. Action. Inspect his dish for poison.
I don't believe gunpowder is technically toxic, so I don't think it would technically show up on that.
Shrug my shoulders and walk away.
However, it smells similar to that puff that you smelt when he fired his boomstick.
Yeah. Weird. I'm not cooking with that.
Oh, that could be fun. All right, Talon.
Note
Hey,
to
John?
self: do not
John?
keep leftovers if Jonathan.
Cookie?
Cookie, yes.
You remember Murdoch did it.
Talon,
For
you'd ask
cooking? He
Oh
knew.
my gosh. Yes, he did.
Talon.
Yes.
You asked a question about how much of the deck or something can be filled. What was your question? I didn't hear it.
Okay, there's under here. There's the first entire deck. What's
Right.
actually underneath it?
Underneath what? Which part?
Directly
Right now,
underneath
what's underneath where you're
directly underneath
pointing?
the cannons.
Okay, go to go to the left of your finger, so where your thumb's pointing.
Okay.
A little bit further. That's the way your pointer fingers go. Go down to the black hand.
What?
Towards the black hand. There's a black hand.
Uh.
Follow the black hand. Just went over your down here. This is the lower deck. That's just below that deck you're asking about.
Okay. So there's no.
So the cannon would be located right here above that. Yes, there is. There's 3 levels. Tilt your camera, you'll see there's 3 levels.
Yeah.
And they're all labeled. A4 leads to B4, or 4A and 4B lead to each other. 5A and 6A lead to 5B and 6B. 3A leads to 3B, etc. So they're all labeled how they connect. That top that you just were over is where the captain's quarters is. The section below that is where the kitchen and mess hall are.
So it's on the floor. So there's. I was thinking, there's this floor here, and underneath that would be the next section.
It is. This midsection
This
here,
is the floor is the next section, or next piece, one of these two.
this is the base of the main deck. And there is 3 entrances down to the middle deck. On the top deck, there is 3 components that are built. There's the forward area, which has a quarters, or a room that has not been opened, and an armory, which you've been shown. And then also has the kitchen and mess hall, which you now get the privilege of eating in. And then above that, on top of the mess hall, is the captain's quarters. Below the main deck, there's 3 entrances from the main deck to the middle deck, is where there's the smithy, the med bay, the workshop, the crew quarters where you get to sleep. Below that, there's another zone, which is the bottom deck, which is where the brig is, which is where you're all very familiar with being for a while. Does that make sense now?
Yeah.
Alright.
Hey guys.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
In-game question. I want to try and get a feeling, about the crew in general. Like, are they like how do they, view us? Do they view us with like apprehension? Do they not care? It's just like, oh,
You see, actually, on that topic, you see there are actually 10 other new members of the crew, and some of them that were there before are not. So it is quite clear that some people, this is their first time on the boat. They seem more familiar with it than you, so they're the ones who are on the ship before with you are keeping a close eye on you because they know that you're not familiar with how everything works, but they're okay with it. They're okay with you.
can I get a general sense of like what they are? Are they just like workers? Are they like actual like ship hands that can handle themselves in a fight? Can they
Yes?
all of the above? Kind of no. Okay.
To get more details than that, you'd have to ask specifically what you're looking for potentially, and you'd also have to roll to see how much you can actually figure out from them. Because I don't know exactly how familiar your character would be with ships or spacefaring vessels.
0 and 0, considering I flew everywhere.
Which is part of why I'm not giving you a whole lot of details.
Fair enough.
Cookie would probably have a better feel because he's been around, organized regiments before.
He's not particularly, trying to learn too much about the individual crew members just yet. He'd be more concerned about the captain and first mate than he is
Okay.
the general populace of the crew at the time.
Wow.
Yes, Cookie.
Cookie's doing some historical research on what it would take to travel on board a ship for a long journey.
Mm-hmm.
They actually carried sour milk with them.
Mm-hmm.
Did not know these things.
Why would they carry sour milk with them?
I don't know these, but that was a thing.
There's quite a few uses for sour milk.
When you look at what they brought, other than water being the most significant thing, the largest volume of food was potato.
And there's a reason for that.
You could, they had literally like 8/3 of a ton of potatoes per person versus 70 pounds of bread and like 35 pounds of meat.
You ever played Oregon Trail? It's the exact same
A long
thing.
time ago.
Potatoes are a great option.
But you can grow them.
Not on a ship you can't.
You sure?
Yeah,
They stay good.
they stay.
Anyway,
Yeah. They stay for a good long while, and they actually are one of the foods that can fairly well fill you up, so you're not starving.
Potato sweet potatoes.
Yeah.
all right.
There are some other foods, of course, but
That's
potatoes
what all the
are
sailors are
a
feeling.
great one.
Potatoes.
Yeah.
Classic Army standard. Have you seen all the things where they
Yep.
peel them
Yeah.
out of potatoes?
He goes, oh, we get the potato peeling duty today. What did we do wrong?
All right, so I set to work cooking and stuff.
All right. Jonathan's down in the smithy, I would take it, hammering away. And Cleox said he was going to attempt to learn and gain knowledge of the phlogiston. Is there anything I'm missing? Or is those all correct?
Sounds about right.
Okay. Cookie, are you recruiting Talon to help you in the kitchen, scrub dishes and whatnot?
I'm trying to think. Preparing food for 30 people. I would probably. I could probably use 1 or maybe 2 help, but it wouldn't be that hard, really.
No, that's why I said, did you want him helping?
Yeah, if I have a volunteer, I
Yeah.
can script anybody. Okay. That's good.
Plus, if nothing else, I can pump you from your days of the army.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's quite used to doing that. However, there is non-culinary aspects to cooking that he could use assistance in. One of the big ones is cleaning all the dishes.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
I found if you actually heat the dish, it actually helps.
Prestidigitation.
Do what?
I wasn't
Then
gonna
again, you
say
have
it.
magical helpers who cast spells. I do have prestidigitation as well.
What's that?
Does Shatter have prestidigitation?
Okay, it's a cantrip.
Or Talon, I should say.
It's a cantrip with several remarkable abilities. Its handiest thing is that it can clean things that are soiled. So you can just basically hand wave the fact that something's dirty, now it's clean.
Dry cleaning, nothing. Magic cleaning.
Yeah, it's like dry cleaning. So you can even clean your own self. So
It's
needing
cleaner
a
than
shower,
seven waters.
prestidigitation. Stuff.
Funny you should mention that, John. You do notice that the doctor
Yes.
seems to be a low-level cleric of some sort, but he does. That's one of his abilities that he has taken is the ability to do prestidigitation to clean people off if needed, instead of having to worry with expending other resources.
I mean, why use precious water cleaning dishes?
Well, yes, actually. But you would then acquire salt water. But we're in Fludgerson, we don't have salt water.
Yeah. So either you use prestidigitation or you're going to have to provide basically extra water rations to be used for cleaning.
Yeah.
Talon, do you have prestidigitation on your list of cantrips?
I'm not sure. I can probably learn it.
Um,
Let's see.
it'd be worth
I have
looking at your.
blackened with gunpowder on mine.
You have what?
I said blackened with gunpowder.
Yes. Cookie may require you to clean your own dishes for now.
I'll just get a match out or two rocks and spark it until it's clean.
And it may clean up the rest of your face while you're at it.
You know, they'll figure out why I have the powder on me. You know, just take your metal dish and just like sprinkle a little bit more powder on your finish and just spark it. Turns to ash. You just knock it off.
You and your gunpowder sort. It does take you quite a few days. Due to the facilities not being up to par, it actually takes you a few more days than it should. But that's because you don't have adequate facilities that are built to do the sort of work you need. It's more built for basic smithing, not more advanced engineering.
All right, level layout. The armory is next to the wizard's quarters, but vertically, where is that located? Is that in the front of the ship?
Yes, you can see all the doorways match up. That's what I was telling
Okay.
Talon. So like 1A leads to 1B.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
5A brings you right down in front of the smithy at 5B.
Um,
So beyond the captain, the first mate, and the doctor, and I guess now the cook, are there any like out of the ordinary roles
There's a few
Bound to be a navigator.
you would consider, lieutenants and stuff.
Yeah.
You actually see the captain is the one who's doing navigating.
Okay.
He's chosen to keep that role for himself as he understands the position of power isn't a bad thing to hold, in the sense that that means other people who don't know star charts and don't know how to control the ship wouldn't really be able to go anywhere. So mutinies tend to be a fairly rare thing under him, you gather.
Cool.
Are the Second, let me look at.
Also means that the rest of you are totally screwed if the captain dies.
Yup.
Well, hopefully he said doctor knows revivify.
You'd hope.
Or he's dead. Anyway.
Oh, he's got 2 resurrection. Are we allowed in and out of the armory? Or is that guarded?
Is what?
Is the armory guarded, or are we allowed in and out?
It is guarded, but you are allowed to go in and out if needed.
Okay.
But, I mean, it's not just willy-nilly. You can walk back and forth whenever you want. But they do want to make sure that weapons and stuff are, kept under supervision. A bunch of drunken sailors with extra weapons aren't always a, good idea.
Right.
So, you finished your gun after the first week. Cookie's been making lots of lovely meals. The captain gives you his compliments, as you definitely are a more skilled chef than they're used to having on the ship.
Thank you.
I want to go into the armory and see if I can make a kind of like a bayonet attachment to my thunder cannon.
Okay, do an investigation check, see if you can find some suitable metal in there.
Or I mean, it'd be more of adapting a dagger to it, but yeah.
You want to make sure that it's able to be modified unless you're going to build it from scratch.
How do I do roll +2?
There's a d20, and you just say you have a +2.
Well, I don't think that's an issue.
You're able to find a fairly nice dagger and a fairly nice dirk, so you can have your choice of which one you'd rather. And you're able to modify the crossguard and eventually get it to have a hole and be stretched and able to slide it over your barrel. And you make a little locking mechanism. But that's going to take you another week of work to ensure that it securely fastens on there for you.
Okay.
You hadn't done it before, so that takes extra experimenting, so you have to
Yeah.
tweak it a few times. Alright, that's 2 weeks down. Anyone else doing anything during that week?
Fire bad.
Cleok, since you're doing that, go ahead and roll a couple intelligence checks for how much you're able to acquire from your carousing of the individuals you feel have knowledge of the phlogiston.
Just straight intelligence.
Yep, you're at the downtime.
That's better.
And what did that give you?
A 1 and a 17.
Yeah, the 1 means you learned fire bad. The 17 is, how many pieces did it say it gives you?
I had that pulled up. I still do someplace.
Interesting. That's a thought.
2 pieces of useful lore. This may also go into training, in which
Okay.
training is a bit different, but that's for like learning a language or proficiency. but that also costs 100 gold per week, which I don't have.
Right. So, all right. Good to know. And then the third week, Yanovan, are you going to be tinkering something else, or what do you plan to do?
It's a good question. I had ulterior motives with the bayonet attachment. I just wanted to get in and out of the armory. So when I go in the armory, is there like a person watching my back, or is there just someone watching you when you come out?
They're basically keeping logs of what's there so they know if something's missing.
Oh, perfect. So when I'm in the armory, like deciding between dirk and dagger, I want to see if there's any knots on the wall between the wizard's quarters and the armory.
Roll a check. First one was a 3 that I saw there. Who rolled the second one?
I rolled the thing. I don't know who else was rolling.
Oh, okay.
I was messing around with the dice, so the second.
The second one was him?
Yeah.
Okay.
I rolled an 18.
You're able to eventually find one.
Right.
I want to use the dice for a second, if I may.
Okay, go for it. I want to see if it's loose and if I can push it out into the wizard's quarter.
Yes.
Make a strength check.
Okay.
What were you doing, John?
Technically, it says when you work, you're supposed to roll a check to determine what your wages were for the week.
That's being handled slightly differently, but
Okay.
good job.
That's fine.
That's because that's basically you'll be given a bigger share of the ship's wages when bounty is given because you supplied. So you will get wages for your work. It'll just not be right away like it would otherwise be.
So 15 because it's 13 plus 2.
It's fairly well stuck in there, but you get it to budge a little bit.
Alright. I'm just going to leave it for now. It should be easier to spot when I come back, now that I know where it's at. I just
Okay.
want you to get a peek in the wizard's quarters.
Which, just remember, you don't know that it's actually a wizard's quarters. It's just
A locked room.
a room. But yes, locked room. Okay.
Leok's getting a little bit bored this week, so he is going to do something along. I mean, I know I'm not going to potentially get paid along those lines, but I'm looking to do a little bit of sparring or otherwise, training. So I guess sort of like the pit fighting. But not necessarily pit fighting, but
Well, actually, there is rules for training people, and you could actually get. It basically will make it so the crew gets 1 mark towards being better trained in their combat ability. So if you do get under attack, they would be a little bit better.
do that. I'll train anyone who would be willing to listen.
That might be interesting.
There's a number of crewmen who will, and that's who you would be training. The captain's thrilled to know that you're willing to do some training of those who are less experienced than yourself. The lieutenants and stuff can't learn from you because they're equal or higher level, but the new green recruits could definitely be put through some training to get them a little better.
I'm only level 2.
Which is why the lieutenants can't, but the newbies definitely can learn from you.
So I would definitely, do some I'd probably treat it more as, like I said earlier, looking for like a sparring partner. But if it turns into, people that are like in awe of what I'm doing and wanting to learn, then I would teach them. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. So you get a assistant who will endeavor in this with you, and he's one of the other, basically lieutenants, or best way to describe it, since there's not really exact rankings on the ship, but he's been on the ship for a while, and he agrees with your idea of sparring, and he's like, yeah, it'd also be good to teach some of these new whelps how to actually, fight a little better, just in case we need them. So the two of you start sparring, and you actually go down to the crew quarter areas, clean out that whole area, and move some stuff down to the cargo hold, and start practicing and training the new whelps.
Okay.
Cookie cooks more great food. And Yonovan, anything you want to do for your third week?
I'm just carving ornate patterns in the gun stock.
All right. Let's have you do a dex check, proficiency, since you have proficiency in your tinkering. See how ornate you can make them.
Proficiency would be what?
It means you get your proficiency modifier plus your tool training. So what is that right now? +4, I think.
Yeah. So 21.
Push your dex. Okay, there you go. You make some pretty intricate design work. And you get it prepared so you can actually, if you get the money, you can inlay it with like silver or gold if you want in a later date. Alright, and then we arrive at a new crystal sphere. You guys see that dawn, you're called up by Gari and Emrakul. They're like, hey, come on up. Rouse from your sleep, you come to the top. Cookie was making breakfast and he's called out. You see you're floating along in the purple, and up ahead there is just looks like a half dome out of the purple gas. And there's this dark spot in it that you're headed for.
How large is this?
Massive. As you get closer to the sphere, it looks like it's no longer a sphere. It looks like it's flat. It's actually that evening before you're really close enough to see this little dark speck that looked like a pinprick is actually a little hole that you're headed for.
Huh.
Interesting.
That's no moon.
That's not a moon! That's a spaceship!
Congratulations, you've made it to your destination.
Huh.
Now, what does this planet have? That's a great question. Or not planet, system have. Let us see what this system has.
Gonna roll dice, are we?
What?
Should we restock first? Our supplies?
That would require
Where?
there to be a town
I would
outside this
think.
crystal sphere.
Yeah. Possible.
Well, we have supplies for a theoretical journey here and back.
Okay.
So I hadn't intended on resupplying here.
You'd have to find somewhere to resupply first. You see in the center, after you pass through this wall, a orange star in the center of this area. And there is only one planet in it. And that planet is... let's see here.
Let's go to fantasynamegenerators.com and look for planets.
Let's see, that would be... It looks like a dusty, dirty world. And it seems to be having some crazy weather going on with it. The moon over the planet is shattered. Has a big chunk like blown out of it. And I forgot, we need to roll to see if you guys have any random encounters.
Bum, bum, bum.
So we haven't had any random encounters in this entire voyage.
Not yet.
We're about
I
to
hadn't
find
rolled. Aw, you just got shy. Alright. You're safe for now.
I'm thankful the random encounters happen after I have my gun working.
Who was it who did combat training to the crew?
Cleoc.
Oh,
Yeah.
Clea.
So Cleoc will likewise get a little bit of a reward, as you do, Cookie, for your services to the ship.
And Cleoc doesn't think I'm sarcastic at all.
And
I
that
do have
gentleman...
I do have it on my character sheet specifically that Donovan wanted to kill me to save himself.
That gentleman is where we will pick up next time. Entering the system, and you now are at the planet of your destination. You are here to find Monda, and there's a group of cultists that have her.
Or so we've been told.
That is what you've been told.
We seek some kind of. Is there any sort of trade center or anything on this planet? A logical docking place?
You not see that yet. The skies are very turbulent, so it's hard to even see below the atmosphere. So we'll pick up going through the atmosphere next time.
Okay. No, yeah, that's great. You described
It's-
the. What did you say about the moon?
It has a huge chunk kind of like blown out of it. It's been shattered,
Weird.
like exposed core.
Something hit it a long time ago, or something
Don't
else?
know. Don't know.
No. Can you still see the pieces? Small pieces floating around it, or no?
You see the pieces there, but that doesn't tell you when.
Actually, that does.
Theoretically.
Physics doesn't exist. I asked that. Besides, if the moon was circular, you couldn't have a hole blown out of it.
Since we were talking Star Trek earlier, it probably looks like the image shown here.
Kind of.
That's possible.
Nice,
That's sweet.
nice picture.
So there we go, gents. Anything else before we end this session?
No, that's good.
Good.
Okay.
Do any of these crew members show promise?
There's a few that seem like they might, but you really need to get them into actual combat to see if their courage holds, or if they ducktail.
Fair enough.
Yonovan has a new boom boom stick. Cookie makes the crew's spirits higher with his delightful stories and well-made food. And you're arrived at what you're told is your destination to save Manda. What will happen next time?
So I've been helping cleaning, sparring, and then interesting.
Sounds good.
All right.